Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Enrich Your Business Circle podcast, where we're going to take a deep dive into our minds on today, mostly inspiring entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I'm your host, Rodrika Bennett, and I am super excited for our special guest on today, Lee Smith, the author of The Unstoppable Voice. Lee is a renowned expert on mastering internal self talk and building that authentic, unstoppable business presence. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rodrika. It's not rolling off my tongue as smooth as I would like. I apologize, but it is so wonderful to be here with you and with your audience.
So, Lee, can you kind of tell us more about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I have been an entrepreneur for about 6 years now,
Mhm.
and I became an entrepreneur because previously I was a stay-at-home mom. I raised two incredible children, and once they were grown, something internal spoke inside of me, and it turned out that it was my 8-year-old self when she fell in love with public speaking, and I got this feeling that it was like a quiver that went through my 8-year-old body back then. And from that moment, it was, let's go chase that feeling again. So once my kids were grown and making their way out of the house, I felt that little girl inside of me saying, "Hey, remember that feeling? Let's go chasing that again." And thankfully to my almost by then 30 years of studies and personal growth development, positive psychology. What do you say when you speak to yourself? All of those different types of topics. I thought, okay, well, plus I've lived a little bit. I have some stories on my belt, and I thought, well, why don't I take my stories and my knowledge out into the world and make it in a way that it serves others and creates positive ripple effects, not only in their lives but in future generations too. So that's my little tidbit of trying to make the world a better place.
I love it. It sounds like you went on a journey of powerful self talk, which is basically
Yes,
your background. And
very
because of
much.
that, let's kind of talk more so about your book, Unstoppable Voice. How did you kind of master the internal self talk directly, um, and translate it even over to like business strategies or even a marketing voice?
Very much so. A great question there. So let's go back to that 8-year-old self for a moment.
Okay.
Not prior to the public speaking, but Saturday morning cartoons, right? And I was waking up one Saturday all excited to jump out of bed and go watch the cartoons. But before I could get out of bed, my bedroom door was opening and in come mom and dad, and they're coming in to wake me up, which is really odd for a Saturday morning. And they essentially said, well, we want to have a conversation with you. And my dad said, we're going to get a divorce and we want to know who you want to live with. Oh, okay. Well, what does divorce mean? And what is that question about? Like, who do I want to live with? And out of that journey, I'll make this rather long story as short as possible. I grabbed a mirror to kind of sort this out for myself. And thinking back and forth, well, who do I want to live with? And I saw what my dad was capable of, and I also saw what life was going to be like if I lived with him. And same thing with my mom. I saw what life was going to look like living with mom, and what it was going to be like living with mom. And what I did was I kind of did a game with myself where I grabbed a mirror and I stared at that mirror and I stared at myself and I stared at myself and I started realizing I could see just my dad's face. And when I was looking at my dad's face, I would hear my dad's voice. And he would say, Lee, you're so capable, you're so smart, you're so brilliant. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And you are a little leader. And so you're leading your friends on the right path. and and I thought, okay, well, those are great words, right? And it felt good hearing that in my dad's voice. And then I thought, well, that was interesting, and I shook it off, and I thought, well, can I do the same thing with mom? And so I'm like, let's try. So I stared at myself again and again, and I kept staring and kept staring until all I saw was my mom's face. And I thought, okay. And sure enough, I heard my mom's voice. It was a slightly different voice because my mom was my mom is an Asian mom, and so she was very much the tiger mom. And it was like, when are you going to be good enough? When are you going to be as good as so and so? Because I was always compared to her friends' kids who got the straight A's and were very obedient and this, that, and the other. So there was a lot of finger pointing and when are you going to be good enough to do this? When are you going to get those straight A's? I know you're smart enough, that type of thing. And please know that I'm sharing this, that my mom was loving me. She really was loving me. She was just doing it in a different way. So hearing my mom's voice like that, yes, it was very sharp. It was like, oh, I don't really like that feeling, because that feeling of not good enough is not a great feeling. And then I shook that off too, and I looked at myself and I said, well, what happens when I try to hear my voice? And I could hear both. I could hear my voice saying both things. And I thought, well, I want to hear more of I am lovable, I am capable, I can do things, I am smart, I am beautiful, I am friendly. I wanted to hear those things. So I actually, in that self awareness at 8 years old, what began intentionally speaking that way to myself. That even when I heard my mom yelling at me, "Oh, you missed a spot," or "You could have done better," those things that was happening outside of me internally, I'm like, "But I'm still good. I'm still okay. I'm still great." So now carry that forward, even into my teenage years. Like my dad instilled in me, lead you are a leader. You're going to lead your peers in the right path when they might want to peer pressure you in different directions. Okay, I served in my youth ministry and became a leader there. I was president of the youth group, vice president. I went on to greater regional representation, spoke up in front of 500 to 2,500 kids at any given moment throughout the year. And so it became a rooting self-talk of, I can do this. I am going to figure this out. Who do I need to know? What do I need to learn? And then moving that into my business, it became that realistic talk of like, who wants to listen to me? Like, what do I have to really offer the world when you have so many amazing leaders like Brenda Burchard and Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, and Zig Ziglar, so many amazing speakers. Then who am I to show up? And it's like, wait a minute, Lee, you were given the gift of public speaking and you love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a message and a story to share. So now let's take that. And so when I started studying my personal development and I was looking at, we have this choice, and we can choose to react or we can choose to respond. And there's not many instances in life, right, where we do have a choice, and it feels like, oh, everything is so out of our control, and we may not be in control of what happens to us or around us, but the moment something does happen, that's where our moment of choice comes into play. And we can choose to get angry or sad or depressed, or we can choose to put a wall up, or we can choose to go out and do something, whatever that happens to be. So that's a moment of choice. And then I've learned that it really is, how do you speak to yourself that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to really show up as the best version of yourself in the world that very much needs you.
I love it. I love it. And even going through that process of getting to know yourself and developing yourself even more, how do you kind of create a strategy behind it for business as a speaker?
Yes, yes. Well, what I found in my journey is understanding, well, any type of business that gets set up is usually done for a mission. There's
Right.
a mission statement that becomes the North Star, that it follows and aligns with, right, as it goes out into the world. So my mission is transforming what I call reactors into creators. And if it's all right, I have a visual to share, and I'll explain it for our listeners who can't see the visual quite yet. So what I have here is a set of Scrabble letters, and you can imagine this word in your mind if you're not able to see this, but the word is reactor. And the reactors are the people who tend to think they have a mindset that, oh, life is happening to me. There isn't anything in my control, and I have dreams and I have ambitions, and I'm chasing after it. I'm doing the things, and I'm busy. I may be hustling, I may be grinding, but there's other things going on in my life too. I may have a family, I may have a job that I'm also working at, and so I am reacting, whether it's reacting to the alarm clock in the morning, reacting to traffic during a commute, reacting to the emails and notifications. It might be reacting to fur babies or little ones tugging at you. And so you're busy, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted, right? Because you're putting out fire after fire, trying to get the things done.
Right.
And the reactor, if you can imagine the visual, is like the letter C in the middle of reactor. And the reactors, that they see themselves stuck in the middle of all the things. Like the C is smack dab in the middle of all the letters. And what I invite you to do, this is part of my mission, is I help you through my personal development techniques, my self talk techniques, my neuro linguistic programming or NLP techniques. I can guide you to take a breather, right? We need to just take a deep breath and pull yourself out of the middle of all the things so that you can be present with yourself.
Mhm.
And pun intended, see yourself, like the letter C, see yourself for the amazingness and brilliance that you are. And I like to help you see what I believe I call the G3, and that's three G's because 3G Mastermind was taken, so I went G3 Mastermind. And the three G's are your genius,
Mhm.
your gifts, and your greatness that make you you. And when you can see, what are some studies and topics that come really easy to me, or as I learn them, I can grasp them so quickly and I retain that information because I really like learning about it. And the gifts are, what are your expressions that you get to take out in the world? Are you artistic? Do you sing? Do you speak? Do you write? Do you paint? It could be art, or just how you show up in the world with your knowledge and what you're capable of doing. And your
Mhm.
greatness is all about just the genuineness of who you are, that authenticity of the amazingness that you are. And when you can see yourself for those three G's, again, the genius, gifts, and greatness, and you put yourself first and you see yourself first. Now I'm taking this Scrabble letter C and I'm putting it in front of the rest of the letters. And when you push them together, it becomes creator.
Mhm.
And so when you see yourself first, everything else falls into alignment. And so now you're not thinking, oh, life is happening to me. You know life is happening for you because you understand what matters most. You prioritize those things. Those are the things that you do. You're now more productive rather than just being busy. And you're going to bed feeling accomplished and fulfilled because you are creating the day, the week, the life that you desire. And the difference really between the reactor and the creator is, how do you see yourself? If you see yourself as like, I just don't have control over anything, I don't know how to take a moment, I feel so overwhelmed, well, then you're seeing yourself as a reactor. If you can say, okay, well, I may not be able to control everything, but what can I control? And what changes can I make that are going to help me get closer to my goal? Well, now you're creating the best version of yourself. You're creating the best moment that's happening for you. So that's my mission, Rika, to transform those reactors into creators by looking at how do you see yourself. And once you see yourself in that proper alignment and perspective, your inner self talk starts to really quiet down the inner critic that says, who are you to be doing this? Who wants to listen to you? You're not good enough. You're not ready. You don't know all the things. So, into I can learn. And
Mhm.
as I learn, I can be one step ahead of someone else, and that's what I get to take out in the world. And as I continue to learn, then I have more to share. I am valuable, I matter, I have a story, and I have a message. And because I have that, well, now it's important that I share that. Either it's with my family, my community, my workplace, or out into the world on a podcast like I'm doing right here, right now.
Awesome. I definitely love how you basically outline the difference between being a reactor and being a creator, because for me it seems like the reactor is more so a person that operates and functions fully on emotion, where the creator sits in the moment and evaluate the moment so that they can create an action plan to get to the end goal. And I think that with us in business, because business has so many ups and downs, sometimes we'll
Mm-hmm.
automatically shift to being a reactor versus a creator. And it
Right.
it can be detrimental for us in business by not looking at the end goal and just living into our emotions of what's going on. And because of that, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this shiny object syndrome where they are
Yes.
almost in this state of being imposters. So they're playing on their emotions and then they see something that they get attracted to, and then they'll take their whole plan and shift it to something else that doesn't even fit them. So could you kind of talk to us more about effective ways of identifying and even mentalizing that inner critic where we can be more so creators than reactors?
Yes, absolutely. Great questions there. Appreciate that. I love it. And as an entrepreneur, thinking about why am I doing what I'm doing?
Mhm.
Because as an entrepreneur, we are creating a business. Even restaurateurs who are opening up a restaurant, they may be like, well, other people have opened up restaurants, yes, but you are doing something uniquely yourself. And so
Right.
as a business owner, or even as a business professional, maybe you're a C-suite person, you have a leadership role. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is the purpose of that? What's the end result? Maybe not even just, you can look at the end result short term, mid-term, long term. And
Mhm.
as you think about those goals and what needs to happen to achieve those goals, as you're analyzing and thinking about that, and maybe you're writing it out, scheduling it out in a calendar, as
Mhm.
you're doing that, allow the moment for the self-awareness and hear what comes up in your mind. And is it like, oh, that's such an audacious goal. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to crossing that goal line. Or, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to make that happen? And really have a moment where you can listen to that. Sometimes it comes as a whisper, sometimes it comes as a loud strike. Like, what are you thinking? What makes you think that's even possible? Why would you put that down as a 12-month goal? That's a 2 to 5 year goal. I say challenge yourself and make it a 12-month goal. And because when you're reaching for the moon, you'll land in the stars if you happen to fall short, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, because even the stars is growth, and that's what we want as business owners. So taking a look at, even if it's waking up in the morning and looking at your top 3 priorities, that's what most successful people do. We, the creators, know that there is an endless to-do list, and you can't do it all in one day. You can't do it all in 1 month. You can't do it all. Some things you can't even do it all in one lifetime. We've seen that happen again and again. But where you are right here, right now, so when you're picking the top 3 for the day, looking at the list, like, okay, I'm creating my top 3 priorities. Fantastic. Again, what is coming up? Like, whoa, where am I going to get that accomplished today? Can I get that accomplished? Yes, I can get that accomplished today. And we schedule that. We put that in the calendar, because we're effectively time blocking that, thereby
Mhm.
creating more productive results. And then the key thing is also at the end of the day saying, okay, I did that. Give yourself a high five, whether it's in the mirror. I do it over my head, giving myself it, because that celebration um, puts a wiring in your brain of that sense of accomplishment, which then also boosts your confidence.
Mhm.
And then even as you're sleeping, when your brain is going through its processes, it will seal that in of like, yeah, I did that. What else can I do? And that allows us to create again and again. Whereas just real quickly touching on the opposite, if we're actually like, oh, I didn't get that done, but even if you made a baby step, if you're just focusing on what didn't get done, like, oh, I didn't do that, or if you're allowing yourself to be stuck in perfection instead of progress, and so you're thinking, oh, but I didn't do that fully right. I didn't execute that as well as I could have, but you did execute it, right? Which means you took action. So let's stop the reaction in that negative sense, and let's turn that reaction into a positive sense. And that's where we step and continue in that stay in that creator mode and celebrate that. Okay, yeah, that was imperfect, but I did it. So that's forward movement. That's progress. It's another step in the direction of my goals, or what was expected of me today. Oh, okay, well, I checked one off of the three on my to-do list today. Well, one is still a celebration, even if it's half of one. So even if it feels like it's something small, those little celebrations, they actually compound. If you're familiar with Darren Hardy and the compound effect, those little wins, they actually compound upon one another, and you're installing the self-trust and the belief unconsciously that says, yeah, I am capable. Yes, I can do this. And this is what goes on to build your success as an entrepreneur and as a professional.
I love it, and I feel like those are good, like, habits to build. I know, like, myself personally, as a person who's in a tech field, I had to get into a space where I could turn off the tech, because when you're in tech, you're always surrounded by tech. You kinda allow the tech to kinda overpower your life. So, I'm
Hmm.
intentional on making sure I always keep a journal with me, and in that journal, I call it my daily operational system. I
I
have
love
like
it.
what my theme of the day is. And then in that journal, I have like my top 7 priorities. So in
Hmm.
those top 7 priorities, it may not be something that I have to do, but it's something that my company needs to get done on that day.
Yeah,
And then I have like things that will be compounded. So if I have meetings for that day, I list which ones are more leverage, are more important, so that I'm tracking that. And then I also make sure I take notes. And then at the end of the day, I leave a section on the page where I kind of do like a evaluation, or what I call a scoreboard. And I look at like, did I make revenue for that day, or what was my energy throughout the day? Was I constantly in a space of gratitude? Because if you're not looking at how you're feeling and your energy throughout the day, that can be an impact that you don't realize.
definitely.
And then I
Hmm.
also reflect kind of on what worked, what didn't work, and then what I'll plan on accomplishing for the next day. And that's kind of how I keep myself grounded, because when you start trying to keep everything digital and track everything digital, so many things pop up that can be distractions. Because you got your social
Definitely.
media notifications, your emails, different
Ding, ding, ding,
apps,
ding, right?
firing everywhere. So you can't fully focus if you're not
Right.
intentional.
Exactly, exactly. Intentional. I use that in the because a lot of times the inner critic will say, "What if?"
Mhm.
Right? And then the anxieties pop up, and it tends to our brain, because its job is meant to protect us. It comes up with all the worst case scenarios. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? And I turned that what if on its head by saying if is intentional follow through. So my what if becomes like, okay, well, what if I intentionally, like you said, list those priorities. For me, it's the top three that
Mhm.
are needle movers, and anything else that pops up throughout the day, is it in alignment with the needle moving activity or not? That's where I say yes or I say no, and creating that best day for the outcomes there. And then having the intention is not good enough, right? Because we've heard many times, proverbially, the best intentions can, what the road to hell is lead with good intent, paved with good intentions, and it's like, oh, that's so true. So intentions are not enough. You have to have the action, the follow through, and so many times we may get overwhelmed with, well, what if I don't know what the follow through is supposed to be? That, and then again, the inner critic comes up, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough. I haven't figured it out yet. And it's like, well, I don't have to see the entire staircase. I may not be able to see the top of that. I just need to see what is the next step, and then
Mhm.
just go do that next step. So my intention is to see that next step and then follow through. But whether it's a jump or it's a climb or it's a reach up, or hey, I need to ask somebody to help get me up on that step. It may be a book or a course or a mentor that I work with, and I'm asking them for the follow through. Like, what do I do next to make that happen? And so I turn that if into intention, follow through, and then it puts me into action instead of just saying what if and allowing my brain to move into play into that imagination of what could go wrong, because that doesn't create progress whatsoever, which is another way of being a reactor, right? It's like, no, I'm not going to sit in the worst case scenario. I'm going to go, all right, well, let's try this and see what happens and take that action. And I think that's what, again, what us business owners and professionals need to do if we're going to keep moving forward towards the things that we need to accomplish, want to accomplish, or in the direction of our dreams.
I love it, and I feel like your if kind of helps you to reduce limiting beliefs. And
Yes.
I also love the fact that you said that you don't have to see the full ladder, but you, as long as you see some of the steps. And it reminds me of this book called Your Next Five Moves, where
Mm,
the author basically tells you it's not about knowing every move to get to the destination, but at least know the next five. And over time, you'll be able to see past the next five or see past the next 10 because you built that momentum in yourself at almost like a game of chess.
exactly. Exactly. Love it.
So Lee, are there any tips that you would like to leave the audience or encourage the audience so that they can stay in a creator mindset versus being in a reactor mindset?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to use this exercise when a disruption happens, or
Mhm.
maybe I'm in the action of something, and like, oh, it's not going the way that I want it to. That's where I take that moment of pause, and it could be just like a lean back in my chair, like, okay, what is happening right now? Either I'm coming against resistance, or my brain is not wrapping around idea. And then I will ask myself in that moment of breath, I may be just taking a deep breath, that simple pause, and then asking myself, am I reacting or am I creating right now? Because
Mm,
I'm really good human reactor, and I can hear the things like, well, this is going wrong, or that this is, or I'll get in that frustration of like, this is not going the way that I want it to. And again, I take another second breath, like, okay, well, what can I create? Whether it's an action or the response within myself, can I create a calm response? Do I need to go and do some breath work? Do I need to take a pause, go outside, get some fresh air, or at least leave the desk area and move around? And then, so that's creating the best version of myself, or what do I need to create in this moment? Or
mhm.
if things again are not going the way that I want them to, then what is it that I need to be learning from this moment so that I can move forward?
Right.
And to touch on, and this is again a simple, I hope I can explain this clearly enough. I have what I call a candy method, and this is again a process I will use on a small task, if it's an interruption, or I can use it as a long-term goal. And Candy is my acronym. So C is about clarity. It's like, again, what is either the next step or the end goal, seeing the bigger picture. A is the affirmation, and it's looking at what are the words I need to be saying to myself. Okay, Lee, yeah, oh, that didn't go quite the way you wanted it to, but you know what? Everything is figure outable. So we're going to figure this out. Even if it means we need to take a time out for a moment, whether it's 30 seconds or 30 minutes, we're going to figure this out. It's okay. Because I have noticed, Richard, that no matter what, the world doesn't end when things don't go the way that I want it to. It might feel like it, but the world isn't. I'm still alive. My business is still moving forward. So it's like, okay, so what are the words that I can say to myself? And I really try to grab the words not in the heat of the moment, but for
Mhm.
my future successful self. She's done it all and she's accomplished it all. So right here, right now, what does she remember thinking about this day to move forward? So looking at those positive words there. The N in Candy is the necessity. So can I see that next best step? And then the D is discipline. So that's doing the thing.
Okay.
Because you, because like Yoda says, there is no try, there is only do or do not, right? So sitting and thinking about it, that's not going to get me anywhere. I need to do something. So that's where the discipline comes. And then the Y is coming back to the you, celebrating you. So once you figure out the necessity and you go do it, it's like, oh, you go do the thing. And that will actually create the breakthrough. If I catch myself on social media and it's like, wait, I'm scrolling when I was only supposed to come on here and respond to one post and then get back to the task at hand, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, stop. All right, am I creating the best version of myself right now? Okay, do I clearly see my next step? Do I speak kindly to myself? Yep, got this. Okay, do I see what I need to do? Yep. Okay, let's go do it. Okay, get off the social media, go do the thing, and then once I complete the thing, high five, I did that. So that's my candy method. That's just one level of candy method that I teach and guide my clients through. So take that and use it, and don't just listen or take notes on it, but give it a go and see how that works out for you.
Awesome. Lee, this has definitely been an amazing conversation. And before we wrap up, where can our listeners find your book, Unstoppable Voice, and how can they connect with you online?
Well, Unstoppable Voice, it's not published yet. It is still in the works, but you will be able to find that on Amazon. And then
Okay.
to follow up with me, you can just best way to do it, especially because I work with women only. Men, I love you too, but right now the community I serve are women entrepreneurs and business professionals. And you can simply go to www.g3mastermind.com, and that will invite you into my free community, where you can see my candy pieces Monday through Friday, and it will help guide you along, and so that you can continue to be a creator, and you can leave the reactor days behind.
Awesome. Thank you again for joining us on today. And thank all of our listeners who are tuned in for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe, rate, and share this episode. And make sure you also engage Lee in what she's doing in her business journey. Until next time, keep building up your unstoppable voice.